Today's topic is Don't Push Me, Impact on the Subconscious Brain, a topic related to decision-making leadership. Why is it so hard to influence people? How do you convince them to change their behavior? It all has to do with the subconscious brain. We all make one big mistake in convincing others. We assume that humans are highly rational and that they are open to good reasons and clear explanation. Unfortunately, this is not true. How do you reach out to another in the subconscious brain? How do you create a strong connection, and how do you increase your impact? Goodmorning BSN is organized by the BSN Impact Center for Great Leadership. The center is an initiative of BSN generously founded by the Culture Factor Group and sponsored by the new energy company Chint Global. The Impact Center for Great Leadership is a place where BSN alumni and other managers and leaders from companies and society meet each other to share insights and to create new practical knowledge. You can also contact the Center for in-company programs to further grow the talent and teams within your organization. Presenting this morning, we have Genieke Hertoghs, a speaker, facilitator, author, and pioneer in subconscious influence with over 2 decades of experience. She specializes in engaging the subconscious mind to foster genuine connections and behavioral change, bypassing rational arguments for direct impact. Her approach is rooted in groundbreaking research on the subconscious communication, making her methods essential for professional development. Genieke's notable works include Don't Push Me, How to Motivate People, and Impact, the Power of Invisible Influence, showcasing her deep understanding of the human psyche and the capacity to facilitate transformational change across various platforms. Reflecting this morning, we have Martijn Aslander with us. Martijn is the founder of Digital Fitness and is known as a technology philosopher. He is an author of Easycracy and the Permanent Better Principle, and offers thought-provoking insights into how technology reshapes society and the economy. We've hosted Martijn before when he presented on digital fitness, and we look forward to his reflection today. Genieke, we can hand over to you now, please, if you can take the floor.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Juanita, and good morning, everyone. I don't have that much time in this Good Morning BSN session, so let's get started. Why is it so difficult to convince or persuade another person? And why is it so hard to get your teenage kid to do his or her homework? And why is it so hard for you as a manager to convince your employees of a certain behavioral change, for example, in an organizational change? Well, have you ever seen yourself working really hard in a conversation, giving good reasons, with the best intention, trying to explain, tell another person why to change and how to behave and why it's important? And you see yourself creating an urge and you're trying to give reasons. And how effective is this strategy? Why? My findings were that this human way of trying to reach out to another person with the goal of changing or convincing another person is a poorly manner. And I think we're all making one big mistake. So in daily communication, we think of people as highly human, highly rational human beings, and we are not, in fact. So I'd like to share my screen with you and take you to the thought of Daniel Kahneman. Let me check if this is all right with you. Okay, I have the participants still on my screen. Okay, there we go. So this is today's session, and I would like to go to, let me go to, great. To the theory of Daniel Kahneman. He won the Nobel Prize for Economics in 2002 by proving that we human beings have a subconscious brain. And this subconscious brain is switched on at this time. It's switched on, my subconscious brain is switched on, and yours is as well. The subconscious brain is your autopilot. So at this time, you're listening to me, you're listening to my voice, and your mind wanders away to all different subjects, And it's possible for you to still hear what I'm saying. And in the meantime, you're stirring your coffee and you're scratching your nose or whatever, or you're flipping your hair, Juanita. I can see. And it's effortless. So it works for you as your autopilot and it can multitask. And it is lightning fast. So your subconscious brain subconsciously takes all your decisions. And in an average day, we make decisions about 30,000 times. So most of those decisions are processed by the subconscious brain, by the autopilot. Well, maybe it's nice for you to drop in the chat how fast do you think the subconscious brain is compared to the conscious brain? So how many times faster you think subconscious brain processes processes in the subconscious? Oh, okay, I have a real difficulty with the clicks. Sorry about it. So what do you think? How many times faster is the subconscious brain compared to the conscious brain? What do you think? And while thinking of this, let me introduce the conscious brain, because Kahneman said we have this autopilot, system 1, and it almost takes all the decision for us. And we do have system 2. And we can switch it on if there's a real urge or there's a great interest. So if there's a big reward for us, or it can prevent us from damage, then we switch on the conscious brain, and only if the subconscious brain can't solve it. So you can see the conscious brain as a sort of a ramshackle computer. We can switch it on, and it's exhausting. It takes a lot of effort. And compared to the subconscious brain that can process and multitask, the conscious brain can only do one thing at a time. And it's very slow. So maybe, Juanita, is there something in the chat? How many times the subconscious brain is faster than the conscious brain?
Yes, we have Famileo who's saying around 50 times faster, and we have Werner saying immediately at the same time as the conscious mind.
Ooh, wow.
Those are the two people brave enough to give you an answer.
Yeah, great. Good on you. Great, great. But they're both wrong. I'm sorry. Because the subconscious brain, the processes are about 200,000 times faster in the subconscious brain compared to the conscious brain. Well, the processes in the subconscious brain are about 200,000 times faster than the process in the conscious brain. And maybe you can see Kahneman demonstrated that the percentage of time that we're in a subconscious brain state is about 98%. And the conscious brain state, it's about 2%. Well, I have serious difficulties clicking. Never mind. So let's try and find out how these brain systems work. So would you please say out loud if I show you the next couple of pictures? So this means the next picture, this next pictogram means that tomorrow it will be, say out loud, or maybe say it in your head because it's a bit awkward because there are colleagues around you. Okay, probably you said snowing. Is that correct? And which brain system provided you with this answer? Well, of course, it's the subconscious brain, because it was lightning fast and you didn't put effort on it to come to this answer. So another one. A package in a shop has a bat and a ball. The package costs €1.10 in total. The bat costs €1 more than the ball. What does the ball cost? Well, tell me out loud or in your head, never mind. And there are two chances. Maybe you said 10 cents. And for all of you who said 10 cents, which brain system provided you with the answer? Yeah, of course, it was the subconscious brain, but it was wrong because it can't be 10 cents. So please switch on your conscious brain, find out why the answer is 5 cents instead of 10 cents. Who can? And in the meantime, feel the resistance in your whole system with which you think, well, why should I? Never mind, because My life isn't depending on me trying to solve this riddle, and I'm not okay with putting my conscious brain efforts in this riddle. So the conscious brain is being switched on only now and then, and especially when the subconscious brain can't solve it, then the conscious brain is switched on. But here comes the big issue, because which brain system you think is responsive to logic, to reasons, to relevant, valid arguments, to evidence, to data? What do you think? Of course, it's the conscious brain. So what's the language of the subconscious brain then? If ratio and logic is the language of the conscious brain, what will be the language of the subconscious brain? It's emotions. So what does this mean? In daily conversation for you as a manager, you're dealing with human beings that are highly irrational and emotional. And you're trying to convince them with a very poor communication technique. I'll demonstrate it. What you see here is a human being, and each of us has an ego. And the ego is your frame of reference. And the frame of reference comes out of your blue pattern of norms and values and beliefs. What do you think? How likely is an ego to change? No, of course not, because we're trying to maintain our way of looking at the world, and this ego isn't likely to change, and it's really good protected. It's protected well by the defense mechanism. So how does this work in daily conversation? Imagine if you're a fan of the triangle, and because you think the triangle is stable and it has equal sides, so it's a good shape, and someone comes to you and says, well, what you didn't know is that the triangle is a really good shape because it's so stable. Well, what will happen between you? Okay. What will happen between you and the other person? Well, you'll feel a strong connection because you think alike. And what will happen if you pay attention to the information reaching out to the subconscious brain? Well, the first point of entry is the defense mechanism. And the defense mechanism really checks about this information. Does it have the aim to change my way of looking, my perspective on things? Oh, no, because they're both triangles, so it's safe and it's okay. Well, come in, and well, I feel a great connection. But what will happen if someone is trying to convince you of a red circle instead of a green triangle? Well, probably you'll feel and you'll see that the information about this red circle will be repelled by the defense mechanism because it isn't safe for the ego to change. The information has the aim of changing the ego. And the defense mechanism is rejecting this information. It's repelling this information. And that's what we call push. And by with push, I mean telling, I mean advising, providing someone with good arguments or reasons, giving examples, demonstrating, trying to explain about the urge of the organizational behavior, the organizational change. And what happens? The subconscious brain of your conversation partner doesn't feel safe anymore. It feels threatened, and there will be a disconnect. So if you're trying to convince another person via the rational way with logic and arguments, then you're reaching out to the wrong brain system because you're reaching out to the conscious brain, and it's only switched on for like 2% of the time. So maybe you recognize this situation where you hear yourself pushing to your colleague and saying, well, I know this organizational change isn't appealing to you, but this will have huge advantages for all of us. And then in another case, you hear yourself saying, it's such a great idea. Let me explain why this is the best option. Or in another example, you hear yourself saying, I'm sorry, I know you hate it, but we have to. And what's happening is that you're trying to push circles against green triangles, and the defense mechanism shuts down, and you're creating your own resistance. And if the other person isn't listening or paying attention, then we'll just try again and repeat it and find other arguments and reasons, but it's not working. So the answer lies in pooling. And by pull I mean pooling techniques that are all safe and feel welcome in the subconscious brain will go through the entry portals in the defense mechanism. And all of these pooling techniques create a strong connection in the subconscious brain. So when pooling, the other person will feel sympathy towards you, feels acknowledged, feels seen by you, and that will bring you in a position of increasing your impact or your influence. And maybe let's find out how that works for you. So what I'm telling you is pooling techniques will go through defense mechanism, through those entry portals, and will reach you in your subconscious brain.
Genieke,
Yes.
we're reaching time. We're reaching time.
Yeah, great. So let me finish with those pooling techniques. Because listening to this lecture, what will be the first thing that you are going to do with this information? Think of it yourself. And as well, who will be the first person you are going to practice this pooling with? And I just asked open questions, because the open question is the most basic pooling technique. And what will be the difficult part trying to pool with your conversation partner? And what's happening right now, I'm directing your thoughts. And I'm directing your thoughts to a specific place in the brain I chose. So I'm controlling your thoughts. And that's the smallest step you can take to increase your impact. And well, maybe that's a nice wrap up for now, Juanita.
Thank you so much, Genieke. Thank you very much. Very interesting topic. Martijn, can I hand over to you now to reflect on Genieke's presentation, please?
Yes, of course. And we were interrupted quite a few times. And I was wondering how that was affecting our subconscious brain, because we're trying to listen to the story. And besides that, we were distracted. How does somebody as Genieke deal with distractions like that? Because it might affect the subconscious brain, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, absolutely.
That's a major complication while you're delivering a talk. So I think you mastered it really well.
Thank you. And I switched on my conscious brain a couple of times.
Yeah.
For you.
It's how it works back and forth. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and the subconscious brain is switched on right now, but at that point in time, the conscious brain is being switched on, trying to find a solution or trying to find out
this is what we do by default. So we can't help it. We can focus on it, but it's there. So we have to somehow park it or address it.
Yeah.
So, actually, what you're saying is that most of the communication that we do in organization or with other organizations is not very helpful. It's because it comes from a rational mind, and the mind, as Mr. Kahneman already said, is subconscious. So where do we start if we want to be aware of this and bring this further on? Because I think most of the hassle in organization is related to the stuff that you're addressing.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I think a nice start would be trying not to push anymore. And
But how do you learn? How do you learn to stop to push?
Well, just shut your mouth and keep quiet. Especially in occasions where there's an urge or
Yeah.
you feel that it's really important to speak out. And
Yeah.
in particular situations where you can, well, shut your mouth and pay attention to the other perspective, the perspective of the other person. And it's really, really, really hard, but you can train it. It's like a muscle you can train. So I think the first small step is to do nothing. And then,
Okay, and what are the intercultural dimensions of this thing? Is this in any culture, does it work the same? Or are there differences between Europe or Asia or Africa, for instance?
well, there are cultural differences. That's true. But we all have an ego. And we all have a defense mechanism that's protecting the ego and prohibiting the ego from change. And those pooling techniques, it's universal. So those pooling techniques go through defense mechanism, and they're creating a strong connection in the subconscious brain. But of course, there are cultural differences in how fast can you go, or how important is the structure in the organization. How important is it to listen to your boss? How important is it to speak out? And there are cultural differences. That's true.
I recently heard that you're starting to train one of the biggest corporate banks in the Netherlands together with BSN. What was the main reason why they bought into the training of this in such a big way?
Well, we do know for 20 years that we all have a subconscious brain, but what we do with it, there's not much that's that we can use. So they having difficulty, and I can't explain too much about it because, well, okay. But now they found a way of trying to reach out to their KPIs, to set their goals and well, to reach the goals by implementing the and accepting the fact that human beings are irrational. So we have to reach out to them with a different set of techniques and skills.
So I can imagine this is very new to a lot of people in organization, because it's really taking a different approach. I think it also will deal differently with all kinds of power mechanisms that are going on in organizations. For the past 10 years, I saw a lot of organization trying to implement all kind of dialogue kind of techniques, but pushing versus pulling is different than dialogue. How do you compare those two together?
Well, dialogues, in what we know about dialogues, is two people or maybe three people in a group or whatever trying to push. So a lot of dialogues are, when you zoom in, dialogues are stages for people to push, trying to convince another person. And nowadays we find dialogues more of a two-way communication, and we're trying with kind of techniques to reach an understanding in this dialogue. But we forgot about the subconscious brain. We're trying all those techniques as if people are rational, and it makes a big difference in
this is why this is why debating is actually not a very good technique. I mean, it's a good technique when you try to be elaborate and if you want to be playful with language.
Oh, we train judges as well.
Yeah, so this is actually a paradigm shift in the way we communicate, isn't it?
It is. And it is a bit difficult to train, but everyone can train it, everyone can learn it.
So do you have 2 or 3 small recommendations that everybody in this session can start with today?
No, cool. Try an open question. If someone is telling you something that you don't like, just ask an open question in the other one's scope. What do you mean? Why is this important to you? How does this work for you? And you will hear stuff that you don't like, but resist and go on and ask open questions, because when you dig deep enough, you'll always find a golden nugget. You'll always find something that is true, at least in the opinion of your conversation partner, and probably it is true for you as well. But accepting that, well, that's a lot for our own ego to accept. So
Actually, you have to be very curious to be able to do this. If you're not curious,
and also this curiosity you can train, because when you're pulling and pulling over and over and over, your own ego will be taught that it's rewarding to examine first, first seek to understand. And
because of
Martijn,
time.
can we open the, sorry, Martijn, can we open the floor to questions now? Is it
Of
possible to
course.
open the floor
Yeah.
to questions?
Yes.
We have one or two questions that have been posed. Let me just go there. The first person says it's Kabenga Johnson. He says pulling rather than pushing can be a fantastic approach to selling. Genieke, do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, some pulling techniques are based on selling techniques, spin selling, for example. So if you're trying to sell your products, well, that won't be a good way. But if you're trying to find out who the other person is and what he desires and what his goals or ambitions are, then it'll be a lot easier to reach out to the person because he feels acknowledged by you and he feels understood by you. So sympathy towards you increases and he's more likely to buy from you. So absolutely true.
Okay, something we can all learn from, hey? Then I have another question. Apart from asking questions, what are the other pulling techniques?
Ah, good, good. Who is asking?
Let me have a look, see for you.
Is it possible for this person to unmute and to...
Iguona. Iguona, are you able to unmute and to chat with Genieke?
Please.
There we go.
Yes, I am.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Could you repeat your question, please, for me?
Yes, so I know you had talked about the polling techniques and you mentioned asking open-ended questions. So I was asking if there were other, tools within that space that one can also apply beyond just asking questions.
Okay, clear. Let me find out. What did I just tell you? You were pronouncing this question. What was I giving back to you? Could you please unmute yourself?
Okay.
What was I giving back to you while you phrasing this question?
Okay. You were giving me the opportunity to sort of expand on what I was thinking. I mean, why I asked the question.
Okay. And how did I do that?
How did you do that?
Yeah, well, let's find out. Has anyone seen what I did? Iguano asked the question. And what did I do? Well, maybe you saw it, Martijn. I don't know.
Maybe some. I mean, so you wanted to hear from me. So
yes,
some feeling for me, like your concern is valid, your question is important. So yeah,
absolutely.
a little bit of,
And I'm doing it right now. I'm providing you with support. So you're pronouncing this question, you're phrasing it and rephrasing it. And what I give you in return is support. I'm confirming your words with verbal support. Okay, yes, indeed. And you're giving me support as well. So thank you. Because the subconscious brain will feel safe and acknowledged, and it will open up to you and share a deeper layer of your personal view on things, because it feels more safe. So support is another technique that creates a safe and strong connection in the subconscious brain. And maybe, Iguano, is it an idea that you put on your camera for 1 second, please?
I'm not able to. I'm not camera ready.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Is it may I suggest that you mute yourself for just 10 seconds, please.
Okay.
Is
Sure.
there an idea that you mute yourself? Okay, great. And what happened is I used the technique of a proposal. And a proposal is best when you leave the reasons behind the proposal. Because, well, maybe ik wou nou, is it an